Hi everyone, Eric Allen here, founder of Planiversity, writing to you from vacation in Lake Como, Italy. I just want to talk to you quick about the decision to participate in apartment sharing versus going for a hotel. There's basically two schools of thoughts on the matter. And behind me, you can see that almost either choice doesn't really matter. You're going to get noise either way. But here's what I think. When it comes down to a hotel or when it comes down to getting an apartment on Airbnb, Vrbo, whatever it is that you decide to choose, you always have to base everything on quality and cost. For me, it always comes down to the two things. Now, being the avid traveler that I am, and I've traveled for years, at least 15 years that I've been a pretty frequent traveler and visited over 30 countries. But in that time, I've never participated or subscribed to one way or another. I haven't been always a hotel booker, even though I really enjoy hotels because I like the complimentary breakfast. I like the fitness center. I like the swimming pool. And most of all, I like the customer service, the replacement of towels, blankets if you need it, etc. And when it comes to apartments, I found myself in the past staying at apartments all throughout Europe, whether it was Brussels, Berlin, Paris, didn't really matter. I was always choosing an apartment to go into. And they also had their benefits when it came to quality and cost. It was a lot more of a personal, or I just get a little fly away from there. There's a little bit more of a personal touch. You get the real personal experience, so to speak. So if I'm going to stay in a city like Paris, obviously I'm not going to get the authentic Parisian lifestyle effect if I'm staying at a hotel. Yeah, sure, there might be the romantic element in it, but I'm not exactly going to live like one of the locals. And that's where the whole benefit of Airbnb came from. But I've also seen over the years that it changes quite dramatically. Before Airbnb, people were renting out flats. Once Airbnb and Vrbo came on the scene, we started seeing this surge in apartments going out for rent. And even in the beginning, I admit, every time I was renting one of these places, I was staying in these cities and I was living a very authentic lifestyle experience for that time, for that week or that 2 weeks that I was at that location. But for some reason, over time, the things have just changed, which is why I consider myself now somebody who doesn't subscribe to one way or another. What I want is what's most convenient, what's most cost beneficial, what's most personal, and sometimes what's most quiet. In this city that I'm staying in right now on Lake Como, it's a beautiful experience, and I don't think I would get that if I were staying in a hotel. Not to say that hotels couldn't provide you with a beautiful experience, but in a small town like this, you're far less likely to find a hotel. Now, sure, you're always probably going to find, even in the small cities, a bed and breakfast or something that's very small, a lot more romantic of an atmosphere. It could be just somebody renting out houses, but you're not really going to find the big experience. If you're looking for the Hyatts or the Hiltons in little towns like this, you're not really going to find those types of places, which is why sometimes you want to go for those big hotels, because when you're in a city environment and you want some kind of strong, what's the word that I'm looking for? You want some kind of accommodation that's most suitable for that atmosphere. Hotels sometimes going to be the way you go. But to get back on point, when it comes to the authentic experience, like where I'm at right now, sure, I'm exposed to noise. I'm exposed to the neighbors. I can hear people upstairs right now listening to music and FaceTiming, and then we got the dog experience right next door. Of course, I can hear the boats and the traffic and everything else, but I'm also living like the locals. It's a very personal experience. So when it comes to affordability, I got to say that Airbnb, at least in this case, measures right there in the middle. It's a very strong option. It's not the most affordable. I have seen hotels that are actually more affordable than this, but if you're looking for something that is a modest accommodation, which is typically what I go for, modest accommodations can be acquired through Airbnb, Vrbo, or any of these home rental programs or websites that offer this kind of service. And when it comes to a hotel, a lot of times what I do is I'm looking for something very specific. Now, like I said, I don't have anything very specific. Now, you can hear the dogs. That tells you this is pretty much authentic. If I was staying in the middle of a hotel in the city, probably wouldn't be hearing the dog unless I had the windows open. You have that ability to kind of close off the outside world around you when you're at a hotel. But here, it's not what I was looking for. I was looking for the authentic living experience. So for a hotel, if I'm going into the city and I have a list of things that I need to check off in order to get myself a hotel, the place that I'm staying at must offer breakfast, typically going to be your hotels, must have a fitness studio, must have a sauna, if that's something that you're into. It must have some kind of accommodation, must have a concierge, must have, room service, whatever you're looking for, because obviously we all know hotels can offer a very romantic atmosphere as well. But, if what you're looking for is a professional atmosphere, something that is high accommodation, is very, very giving, but also heavy on the wallet, which they can be, a hotel is going to be the way to go. And the good thing is about a hotel, when you go for the higher prices, you're typically getting the higher quality. It's not the same way when it comes to these apartment rentals, because they're typically set, even though the prices are recommended by the service, because I know this because I've rented in the past, but the prices are actually set by the owner of that unit or of that house or of that camper, whatever it is that you decide to rent. But those are set by those people. And if a person has a very inflated sense of worth over their unit, then you might find yourself renting from somebody who thinks that their very modest, very lightly accommodating unit or house or apartment, whatever you want to call it, is worth far more than it is. And they're charging, $350 a night, $400 a night. I've seen units going for $1,500 a night, and I can't even imagine why they are. What I typically look for is something in the ballpark of $75 to $150 a night. Just like most of you, I want to get something that's affordable. I want to get something that's good. But the problem is with this type of service that even though something has a higher dollar value does not mean that it's insured to give you a high quality experience. Okay. Now, if I measure up a $500 a night hotel room versus a $500 a night Airbnb, well, I don't get the same kind of guarantee with an Airbnb. The best that I got is to look at the reviews, see what people are saying, never pay attention to only pictures, because pictures are deceiving, of course. You can take a picture of a pile of trash from the right angle with the right lighting and actually make it pretty inspiring. But, when it comes to a unit, you look at the pictures, and pictures are usually what grab people. They say, oh, that looks really accommodating, only to get there and find out that that bed that they thought was a king-size bed, or that bed that they thought looked really comfortable, is now like laying on a pile of bricks, or it's half the size that they thought it was going to be. So pictures can be very deceiving. Reviews can even be deceiving. What I like to look for is a continuity of reviews. So I never want to be the first one to rent a place. I never want to even be the second one to rent a place. But if I look at a place and I see the location is great, the pricing is right, the pictures look pretty good, and the reviews, they've got 10, 20, even however 30, 50 reviews, and they're now in the star category. They're one of the premier renters. Chances are you're going to be pretty happy. And typically when it comes to reviews, people are pretty straightforward with their feedback. Yeah, of course, we've all been in those situations where you just want to be a nice person. You're like, great place, loved it. It was fantastic. Host was kind. Or people just give a thumbs up like, good experience. That doesn't really tell you much. What you want is to see people saying things like, the Wi-Fi wasn't that strong. I had some trouble getting connections throughout certain parts of the house, but otherwise the beds were very comfortable. The location was key because it was close to stores and shopping, etc. And there was off-street parking, things like that. You want to hear that honest feedback. Now, when it comes to a hotel, of course, you can base a lot on reviews, but hotels aren't going to be able to get away with tricking you with things like pictures. If you know what the ballpark is for the area that you're going to, or we can call them comps, like the comparative prices. If you're going to, Miami, if you're going to Rome, Italy, if you're going to downtown Berlin, Germany, and you see that the average hotel price around a certain neighborhood is going for, $200 a night, and this place that you've just found is $75 a night, the chances are there's a reason why the prices are going that low. Now, we're obviously not talking about hostels. Hostels are a completely different situation. But if I'm trying to weigh out the hotel versus the apartment rental thing, there's those few things that I have to base it on. And it's always going to come down to a few variables, which are quality and cost. Now, again, in the end, the prices when it comes to apartment sharing and apartment renting, they don't mean much. That could be somebody who believes that their apartment is it's stunning, it's a gem, it's worth $500 a night for sure, when truthfully it's only worth about $150 a night. You got to be careful. Places like that, they exist. Believe me, I've been at places where they think it's worth the $200 a night that I've spent, only to find out when I get there that I probably wouldn't have paid more than $60 a night if I didn't have to. So if I know that I'm in an area where hotels are running for $300 a night, and I go for the place that's lower price, I'm pretty much shooting myself in the foot. But if I go for the place that's comparatively speaking on the same level price-wise, then I know that I'm getting something that's at least up to par. There's going to be a ton of reviews with it. They're going to have to list out all of their accommodation, all their amenities, all the things that they actually provide you. And typically when it comes to a hotel, what you're getting, it's very straightforward. You get Wi-Fi, you get a blow dryer, you get towels, you get maid service every other day, something like this. It's different experiences. And so the last thing I can tell you when it comes to trying to pick between one or the other is decide if you're the type of person who actually likes to have the experience of living like a local. Now, staying at a place like this, again, I can hear right up the hill, a rooster crowing. I can hear dogs barking. I can hear motorcycles going past and kids running around playing soccer. I can hear all these things, If I was in a hotel, I could ensure that the window was shut. Chances are I won't hear most of that stuff. And if I have a problem with too much noise, I can always call the front desk and complain about it. But that's what you have to decide if that's what you want. If you want to live like the locals, be prepared to embrace some of the things like this. Be prepared to cook your own food. Be prepared to go shopping in the local stores. Even if you don't speak the language, purchase some ingredients, come back to the unit, the apartment, the house, whatever, and make your own food. And just get out and experience the community, because it puts you so in touch with a lifestyle that you're otherwise not accustomed to. That is a great thing about apartment sharing. But then again, if you go somewhere else, it's just not for you. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't get something that you don't want or don't need. Just get something that's going to make you happy. Go for the hotel. Don't be a person who's either a hotel person or the Airbnb person. Be somebody who goes on your own philosophy and goes with what feels right for that scenario. If you have any questions, I hope this helped, but reach out to us at plans@planiversity.com. We love hearing from everybody. We love traveling. We love travelers. So if you have a story for us, we'd love to share it as well. Reach out to us. Again, plans@planiversity.com. I'm CEO Eric Allen, founder, and I'll talk to you again next time from Lake Como.